It's time to choose, it's either or. I'm talking either win or you lose, cause we alpha. And we came to win, and we ain't stopping till we get to the end. Baby, back to alpha. Like how could I lose my life for yours? Tell me which one would you choose? I walk in the room like I ain't got nothing to prove. One man, but I feel like I walk with a crew. Alpha. Here stand up like alpha. Alpha. Chief in the end, boy, I scalp ya. Alpha. GPS, I reroute ya. Alpha. Whew. Come and learn something. Or get burnt, watch how I earn something. Back to alpha.
Welcome to Beyond Barriers. I am your host, Coach Coles. The goal of this show is to introduce you to people, ideas, and opportunities that will hopefully stimulate growth and abundance, but also motivate you mentally and physically to step outside of your comfort zone and become limitless. You are a phenomenal being. Please don't ever forget that. Before I give this introduction, I want to thank all my listeners for tuning in with me. Today, I have a show that I'm super excited about. I say that about all my shows because I'm always super excited, but this one touched home for me. My guest today moves mountains. He's a prime example of turning ideas into reality. One of his superpowers of many and daily practices of his is continuously create life by staying in front of your thought. Some would ask, how would you know about creating life when dropping out in the 8th grade from school to take care of a mother and 4 siblings? To top that, then to have your first child at the age of 16, to becoming a successful business owner, a leader of 2 families, a pillar in the community, a mindset coach that he takes no claim to that title. But the very best part of this show for me today, guys, is this guy's my very best friend, the man that I love the most on this whole entire planet. He's my mentor. He's my mindset coach. I get personal coaching from this guy. He's the one who got me into fitness. He's the one who has helped molded me for all of the greatness that I have in my life. I would like to welcome my very best friend, my dad, my father, Rafiq.
Jeez. All right. So let me take time to clear the emotion, So
Oh, Dad, man. I was
Right.
feeling like I was getting a little touched up while I was reading that, and I was like, gosh, you know what? This guy.
Yeah.
So hey, welcome to the show, Dad. Thanks for taking the time to jump on with me. I just want the world to know the great guy that I have the privilege of being around on a regular basis. So I like to just start the show off with just having some regular talk like we normally do. You cool with that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
All right. I'm sure a few questions that a few of the listeners may have is who's tuned in, who are listening, would probably want to know, like, what do I mean when I say staying in front of your thoughts? Like, I'm sure they're curious to know, like, what does that mean? How would you explain staying in front of your thoughts? Well, just talk to me about staying in front of my thoughts.
Well, Craig, it's really I like to call it staying behind the thought.
Okay.
You are before the thoughts. You're the entity before the thoughts. That silence or that stillness that comes before your thought, that is who you are. That is the consciousness. That's the awareness that you are. So your thought cannot exist without you, and that consciousness is what allows that thought to exist. And then from that point, that's when you begin to experience the thought. You know how we talk. Each thought is neutral until you begin to activate it and bring it into some fruition or some activity. You experience it. If it's drinking a glass of water, you think about it before you even think about it. There's that stillness, and then you go into the act of feeling or wanting that desire or having that desire for the water. Then you go through the experience of drinking the water or whatever it is you're going to do with it. So it's always you're the entity behind the thought.
Behind the thought. Okay.
Yeah.
So that means, does that really mean like you get the opportunity to like just create really what it is that you desire for yourself or what you want?
Yeah, yeah. Once you can get into that place, I like to call that place, that stillness, the reference point. The thing is you when you think, I always say, the more you think, the less you know. The more you know, the less you need to think, because your thoughts are just things, and they everything is mental. So when you begin to think, what I'm saying, you're beginning to react to that. It's like when they say I am. Well, before the am, which is the coupling word for whatever it is you're going to be, it's the I. So you're always the I. You always got to kind of get to that reference point, and establish that reference point, because that I is the thing that we all are. That's the consciousness. That's the awareness that we are. And once we can really get into that place, the more we get into that place, the more we expand that I, or that space, or that consciousness. And the more we are able to expand that consciousness, the more we can stay in it and operate from there. And then once we have the thoughts, we can actually manipulate or determine how those thoughts are going to be or not be. Because you
Okay.
here again, if you begin to think, then your thinking, the more you think, is more referred to, or it's more of your indoctrination, how you were raised, how you were this, how you do this, how you don't do this. You know what I'm saying? So that thinking actually subdues the actual consciousness in a lot of ways. So the more you think, the less you will know, and the more you know, the less you will think. What does it say? What is the terminology? Be still and know.
Right.
That's exactly what that means. Be still and know. If you still yourself, if you're able to get to that point, you'll be able to, that knowing is absolute. The thinking is, it comes and goes. You know how that works. You know what I'm saying? And it depends on how you've been indoctrinated as to how you think, and that thinking, like I said, in itself, or in many cases, in all cases, really subdue the actual consciousness or awareness that you are.
So when you think of awareness, that like and listen, guys, I just want you to know, I will not be calling him Rafiq while we talk. I'm going to reference him as Dad, like we regularly talk. So, Dad, when you think of like consciousness, like what does that mean? Because I think a lot of people probably think of consciousness as being woke, but I think they think on a physical plane, like someone's got knocked unconscious. Oh, now he's conscious, he's woke, you know.
Yeah,
But what
yeah.
is actual consciousness? Like, when you think of that, what does that mean?
Well, consciousness is what we all are. That's where we all operate from. For example, when you close your eyes, you see darkness. That darkness is, and that darkness, or that stillness, is truly the what I would identify as consciousness or awareness. Because in that period, or in that time that your eyes are closed, or you're in that darkness, that's where all your thoughts are coming out of, that darkness. You know what I'm saying? So that awareness, or that consciousness, is what you are. The experiences and the things that you are, the things that you think you are, you want to be, those are the thoughts that come out of that, and those are usually adopted from your experiences that you had since you've been in existence. You know what I'm saying? But
Mm,
in the consciousness, that's a nothingness, and that nothingness is infinite. Okay, and it's omnipresent, but yet it's not omnipresent, because there's no presence. You have to understand that it's
no, I get
our
that. Yeah.
yeah, the way our minds are, the way we've been indoctrinated in this realm. We can't. It's hard to conceive that, because we have to have something as a reference point to be able to understand that. But the reference point is the very nothingness that you are. Okay, to be able to create, or to experience what you want.
Right.
That's see, in this world, in this realm, we're operating. What we're seeing is opposite of what it really is. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So if we try to use something as a reference point that is created or thought of, or whatever, we sort of lose the mark. If we step back behind that thought, or that idea, or that concept, and be able to not, and be in that place of space, of stillness, of nothingness, and then be able to project, or recognize, or experience the thought. Now we're operating from that's the true point. But the
Yeah.
way we've been indoctrinated, we think that we need a reference point, which is something that is external of ourselves to be able to operate. But that's not. That's why we're so effed up. Let me just use the
Yeah.
term.
No, you can
Can you
talk.
say that
So
on
you
here?
talk, man.
Yeah, yeah. So
No,
because
so
we, yeah,
no, that makes the most sense. That we need to see, almost it's like we need to see a proof in order to believe in something. We need to
yeah,
see it
yeah,
to know
yeah,
that it's real. But the
yeah,
truth of it is this what I'm getting that you're saying, that everything comes from nothingness. And
yeah,
is whatever you create. It's not whatever it's whatever you create from that nothingness. So in essence, you could go into this blackness that you were talking about and
mhm.
pull out whatever it is you desire, and that's what it will be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the key thing about that is that the more you get into that space and expand that space, and it becomes that place where you are who you are, which you are, the more when you want to manifest, you can. But see, right now you can't because of the doubt that you have within yourselves, the doubt that we have within ourselves,
Would that be
because of
like our
how we've been
ego?
indoctrinated. Huh?
Would that be like our ego that has caused that doubt in ourselves?
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah,
learned behavior?
yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. The ego and the now the ego's not bad. Don't get me wrong, but if we're using that as an operating tool to exist within this realm, it's not good because you know what I'm saying. It doesn't allow you to it sort of suspends you or doesn't allow you to extend or project that energy that you truly are. All we are energy. Oh, intelligent energy is what we are, and that's what's so dynamic about us. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, we've become so accustomed to being external existence, accepting our external existence, which really is not. But and that is suppressing our spiritual or our awareness, our true awareness. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
Once again, I go back to that. The more you think, the less you really know. Because what
right.
you're thinking of is just ideas and concepts that have been introduced to you or you've been indoctrinated by. But in consciousness, you are the cause and the effect. You know what I'm saying? And
It
as a
is.
result of it, yeah.
It is because I am.
Well, it is because I am. Yeah, that we could definitely use that terminology because it won't be if you ain't. You know what I'm saying?
'Cause what we do.
You know what I'm saying? It won't be if you ain't. It doesn't matter about anybody else. It's just because we're all one consciousness. But until you understand that, it is like you said. It ain't if you ain't. You know what I'm saying? It is
Yeah.
because you are. You know? So that is definitely a good terminology. Yeah.
So I had this concept, right, that I've picked up along the way
Mhm.
of like consciousness is like, let's say this whole hand represented the universe, right?
Yeah.
And so consciousness would be me going into consciousness, grabbing a handful of it. And when
Mhm.
I grab that handful, I would
Mhm.
call that my spirit.
Mhm. 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 Mhm.
Then
Mhm.
I would take that spirit and I would put it inside of a cup or a container. That container I put it in would be like my body.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
once I put it in that cup or a container, it becomes like my soul.
Mhm. 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 Right.
And
Yeah.
then here comes ideology and ideas and concepts from other people while I'm inside this cup
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
paints this soul.
Mhm.
It makes
Mhm.
this soul believe that
Mhm.
it's that body. So
Mhm.
therefore, I need to see this proof of things. I
Mhm.
need, it has to make relevant sense. And I
Mhm.
begin to think, I forget about the soul and start operating from that body standpoint. Does that make sense?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And this
We
is
use the
how,
analogy of the ocean.
right. And then
Yeah.
this is where I kind of messed up at because I forget that I am this whole consciousness. I am
Right.
this darkness that could pull any and
Right.
everything out of it, but I'm
Right.
contained, not in just
Right.
the body, but in the mindset that I've been
Right.
taught and the
Right.
ideas I've taken on. Is that around
Exactly.
the,
Exactly. You remember the body's in the mind. The mind's not in the body. You know what I'm
that's
saying?
right.
And yeah. And uh, give me 1 second. So, give me 1 second. And yeah. So yeah. And we use the analogy of the ocean and the drop. You're the drop of the ocean. You know what I'm saying? And then once you realize that you're made up of the same elements of the ocean, then that's when you begin to come back to the ocean and become one with that ocean. But
Okay.
yeah,
What,
that's exactly right.
so Dad, what are some of the things that you do? Like, so as far as staying behind your thought, what are some of the practices that you do to remind yourself daily that this is all just bullshit and I am centered? Like, what do you do to stay in that mindset?
Yeah. Well, first thing at night before I go to sleep, I use a little simple method. I close my eyes and I kind of focus my energy to the back of my eyes because it's just darkness there. And in that darkness, I try to keep that. I try to keep, and that's the thing. The concentration is very important. So I concentrate on that darkness, and during that period, there's always a barrage. Usually, well, I've eliminated a lot of barrage of thoughts, but the thoughts that come and it'll try to remove you because that thought is a part of your ego, and it'll try to remove you from that darkness or from that concentrating on that darkness. But I usually just kind of concentrate on the darkness on my eyelids, and then once I can do that and get into that darkness, then I begin to make that darkness as my primary focus. So any thought that comes, I can see the thought come, and I can relieve myself from the thought
Mhm.
or eliminate the thought. And the
Okay.
more I do that, the more that space expands, that stillness expands. And that's what you want to do. You want to get that stillness so it begins to expand more and more and more, because that stillness is going to be your reference point. And so I do that before I go to sleep and first thing in the morning when I wake up. And these are the good times to do it because there you're usually your body's in a relaxed state, and that's what you want to kind of get to that point. Because what you want to do is you want to forget that you even have a body. Remember, I always say you're faceless, formless, fearless awareness. That's one of my favorite things of reminding myself. I'm faceless, formless, fearless awareness, and that's exactly what we are. And in that during that time when I'm trying to get to that point, and the more I do it, the easier it's becoming. You know what I'm saying? The more I can get into that darkness or whatever you want to call it, the blackness or the nothingness or one they call it void of thought or void of consciousness or whatever it is. But the more I do that, the more that space expands. So what happens is, so I use that energy during the course of the day. So during the course of the day, maybe once an hour, I would just go and close my eyes. Okay, I'll do it for a few minutes, and then I'll open my eyes and feel that same feeling. So I have this feeling of nothingness or this emptiness, or I don't have a thought. So the more I can perpetuate that no thought, as I said before, it expands more and more. The more you practice, the bigger your muscle get, right?
Right.
Yeah,
The more you lift, yeah.
so the more the consciousness is, and so it allows me to have that. That becomes my reference point. And so at some points, I'm able to just sit with my eyes open and see that darkness. Or I'll use the dark. I'm able to sometimes reverse the darkness to the light that I'm experiencing. But that light is not really being. It's not. I don't know how to really explain that, but it's the same as the darkness. So I have
Mhm.
this void of thought. So
Is
in
it like
that
a present
moment,
darkness?
huh?
Is it like you present but you're not present while it's
Well,
light? Like,
you're the whole thing is that you are present.
right.
Because what happens, these exercises are actually keeping you in the present moment. And in the
Humanly
present,
present.
huh?
Maybe you humanly present when you
Well,
in the
well,
light.
you're always present. It's just your awareness. Your awareness
Right.
determines where you are. So in that during that period of either the darkness or the light, whatever, my focus is there. So I can't. So because I'm there and I'm void of thought, I'm in the present moment. So at this point, I can actually bring out thoughts that I want, and then I can decide to experience those thoughts. That's the part of manifestation, because now you're sure that where these thoughts are coming from. When you just have random thoughts, you don't necessarily validate those thoughts. So you don't know, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes those
Right.
thoughts could be thoughts of uncertainties and things like that. So you want to be able to validate your existence and your thoughts, so to speak. And in order to do that, you have to be able to know and originate the thoughts versus the thoughts just coming to you. Now, I realize that you are the thoughts, you are the being that those thoughts are coming to. But remember, a lot of those thoughts are thoughts of indoctrination, thoughts of just your experience in this life and so on. So you're not, most of us are not in the habit of being in that space and that space of awareness, or that space of consciousness, that
Right.
space of nothingness. So, so when you're in that space, now you're now the one that's determining the thoughts. You're the one now that determines if you want those thoughts, if you want to experience those thoughts or not. You know what I'm
So
saying?
you become like the, as you used to tell me, or not used to, but as you tell me, you become the director of your movie at that point.
Exactly. You're the director, the producer, the actor, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, you change the
Yeah,
skit, the storyline at any given
yeah.
time versus allowing the storyline to be what you've been indoctrinated with.
Exactly, and that's what we got to do. And this whole thing, what this does is, because you become so confident with that, then you begin to trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, then you believe in yourself. Now you eliminate uh, uh, any thing that you're not sure of. You begin to
Uncertainty.
uncertainties. You begin to eliminate your uncertainty, and when you eliminate those things, and you begin to have that trust in yourself, now you can walk through walls.
Yeah.
I say that, and people say, now this guy's crazy talking about walking through walls. But I'm telling you, we have that power, because there's 7 laws that are very, 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 and I recommend people who's listening to this to try to understand these laws. There's seven laws. They call Hermetic laws. All is mental. You may have heard this. All is mental. The law of correspondence, the law of vibration, the law of polarity, the law of rhythm, the law of cause and effect, and the law of gender. Okay, they're called Hermetic laws or whatever. Try to begin it's called the Kabbalah. It's those are laws, but I'm telling you, those are principal laws that they're sort of scientific, but when you get to understand them and get into that space, you understand that that's how you exist. But everything is mental. So if everything is mental, then you can realize that everything that you're dealing with in your life, if it's mental, then it doesn't really have a physical foundation, because nothing is physical. It's all mental. So then, if that's the case, you have the ability to manipulate that situation, or that thought, or that issue, or whatever.
To change that
But
energy.
yeah, it's all
To
energy.
change the energy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, I
So
100% believe that. I 100, like 200% believe that you have the capability of changing that energy. One of the things I was thinking about with gratitude the other day was just thinking, like, if there was a lake, and I'm just piggybacking off a little bit what you're saying, you spawned this idea for me. You have the ability to change the energy. And I was thinking, like, if I was just thinking about gratitude and I'm dropping little pebbles into a lake that's calm, the little pebble is going to make ripples, energy, right? You'll see it on top of the water, but that's actually energy. And
yeah,
at any point in time, I want to change that energy. I could really dive deep into gratitude and drop bigger boulders into
yeah,
this lake that represents the gratitude and create waves. You
yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean? And
yeah,
allow
yeah,
people to feel those waves, but not even people, but for
yeah,
me to embrace it
yeah,
and feel it and change the
yeah,
dynamic of whatever that
yeah,
I thought was once physical. Like,
yeah,
we
yeah,
have that capability of being greater than we've been robbed of so that, like, I think of some of the things I stress over or
yeah,
deal with.
yeah,
And we had this conversation the other day, just yesterday, and
yeah,
you was telling me, like, man, like, pretty much you creating your own waves
yeah,
is what made
yeah,
me think about it. And these
yeah, yeah,
waves, sometimes we create, it get
yeah,
rough. But
yeah,
if we
yeah,
just focus on what it is we really want to create and
yeah,
drop it
yeah,
into that lake, or pull it from the darkness, or however you want to place it in your mind, we
yeah.
could create whatever we want.
Yeah, we're spiritual beings. We're spiritual beings experiencing the so-called human aspect of this existence. But I mean, the question I would always ask is, have you ever remember not existing? You know what I'm saying? Because you've always existed. Consciousness has always existed. That's what you are. And you've just identified your bit of consciousness with being being on being Craig. you know what I'm saying, or whoever you were prior to Craig or whatever, you know what I'm saying, which I mean, we're infinite. We have no beginning and no end, you know what I'm saying? But when we got, when we took on this existence in this realm, for whatever reason, you know what I'm saying, we sort of locked ourselves in, But the fact that we do have access to our consciousness, to our awareness, is to say that we're not totally locked in. Now you have to crawl about in the hole, or what do they call the rabbit hole? You know what I'm saying? And realize what you are and who you are. You're a supreme existence. You're a supreme energy. You are the cause, and that's why the effects are as they are. So if you change the dynamics of the cause, the effects are going to change. And that's going to be that's so powerful. But the thing is, like I said, in this realm, for whatever reason, we've been we're locked into not realizing what and who we are. And as long as we're in that situation, like we got now all this crap about wars and all of this, and people are walking around right now. The environment is in a high state of stress. You know what I'm saying? And if you give into that, it's going to definitely not allow you to access your true state of being. That's the whole thing. Yeah. So you gotta. Well, I was telling you yesterday, just let that shit go. Let it go. I mean, don't, because it's remember, it's all mental. And when we talk about slavery, you know what I'm saying? The only reason why slavery was so successful, and I use that word successful, is because they pulled everything out of you that you could have understand and realized, and they inputted what they wanted you. So your indoctrination, generations of indoctrination, is based on all of the intelligence, or the spiritual intelligence, being pulled out of that being, and then being indoctrinated with what they wanted you to be indoctrinated to. And now, as the effect of that being, you are now projecting the energy to perpetuate their agenda.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's how that works. Because in order for you to even understand your spirituality, you got to take out the old. They say you got to take out the old wine out of the bottle before you can put the new wine in the bottle. Right. And that's what's happening. You got to take. So what they did was they took out your wine out of that bottle, and then they poured their wine in your bottle, and you're promoting their ideas, their concepts, and all of that. Whoever they are, you know what I'm saying?
I'm drunk off of their bullshit.
You're drunk off of their bullshit. That's exactly right. And you haven't your stuff. Then your stuff, you still can access your stuff, but until you realize that, you should have just like back on the corner when I'm back and drinking Thunderbird, we pour a little bit out for the brothers, you know what I'm saying? But in this case, we poured the whole bottle, and you know what I'm saying? So
we need to pour the whole bottle out.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's the thing,
Yeah, man, I want to have you back on here. I try to keep this a short show because I know nowadays it's some, people find it hard to sit down for 30, 40 minutes and just listen to something that's really helpful. Right. And I can't thank you enough for everything that you have done for our family, the rest of the siblings, but more so me, man. And I love having these talks with you because you always have something that enlightens me and give me a different perspective of how to look at things. And it's never nothing negative. You never push me into a way to say, hey, you're going to be this, you need to be that. I love the way that you just give me the opportunity to grow and to be the man that I am. And I owe a lot of that to you. So I just want to say thank you for all that, man. And thank you for coming on the show. And I would say, hey, if you want to follow my dad, Rafiq, but I don't think this guy has any social medias or anything like that.
I don't, I know, but I appreciate it. I love you. And you are definitely my number one. You definitely are, son.
Oh, man. Thank you, man. I love you, brother. All right, guys, that's the end of our show for today. Dad, do you have any last minute things that you would like to give, any advice? Like if you could give it in like 10 seconds or less to say, hey, Paul, what would that advice be?
I would say grab the book by Neville Goddard called The Feeling is the Secret.
Okay.
That's a great
Awesome.
book. Yeah, it's great.
Villain is the secret.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, I want to thank you guys for tuning in on the show. Once again, I had the opportunity to sit down and speak with my father, Rafiq. And I want to say, guys, thank you. And until the next time, think beyond barriers. You are limitless. If you want to get in contact with me, you can reach me at my personal IG, which is only the number 1, Craig Coles, or you could just reach me at Craig Coles on Facebook. So then, guys, this show is powered by Back to Alpha. To the next one, peace.
All right.
We out. We out. It's time to choose. It's either or. I'm talking either win or you lose, cause we out. And we came to win, and we ain't stopping till we get to the end. Baby, back to alpha. Like how could I lose my life for yours? Tell me which one would you choose? I walk in a room like I ain't got nothing to prove. One man, but I feel like I walk with a crew. I'm alpha. Head stand up like alpha. Alpha. Chief in the end, boy, I'll scalp ya. Alpha. GPS, I'll reroute ya. Alpha. Whew. Come and learn something. Or get burnt, watch how I earn something. Back to alpha.